Good evening, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Wanted to talk to everybody tonight about the child support fraud. And of course, again, it goes all the way back to the birth certificate and that fictional name. And you'll notice anytime you get any kind of child support order, it will only be an administrative order, period. That's all they can do. They don't have any judicial authority to make a man obligated for the debt of a person unless they are the actual holder and acknowledged man of that person. And that person that we're talking about right now in regards to child support is a United States citizen. So unless you've taken control of that United States citizen, they can't enforce any kind of child support collections on you. It is all fraud. This is why I suggest you do not authenticate the birth certificate. You do not do the UCC1 on the United States person. And you do not include it in the UCC1 and motherfucker and kill it. Period. Now, if you notice one of my posts on my page here, I drew up a letter in regards to child support services that are going after a brother of ours for collections, and they are making threats of rescinding licenses and abilities to work, and as well as threatening to put him in jail. And this is all interference with commerce. It's all mail fraud. If you look at any notice or any letter that the Child Support Recovery Services or any kind of child support services, any child protective services, anything from the courts, anything from any corporation, anything from a bank, anything from a credit card company, anything that they send you is going to be to the corporate fiction. And unless you are actually involved in a valid contract with them, including your cell phone services, notice they are not using the correct grammatical calling. You have a calling. When you were born, your mom and dad called you two things. They gave you a spiritual calling, a bodily calling, and you were part of a family birthright. That family birthright is, you are part of it, but it is separate from you. You are the calling. Myself, for instance, I am Keith Orland of the little family. And you'll notice in that notice I drew up for this brother of ours that it has his grammatical correct calling listed at the very top. And before I go any further, when you do these kind of notices, I suggest you either do a registered return receipt or do a hand service through a quorum of witnesses, which is my preferred method. If I have anything to do with these people here locally, I like to take 2 or 3 people, at least 3, with myself, making 4. That's a quorum. That's a minimum quorum of witnesses, first-hand witnesses, and have one of them hand deliver it to them. You don't need a certificate of service or anything because you've got a quorum of witnesses. That is your service. So understand this stuff, people. And when you do that registered return receipt, before you go putting that letter in an envelope and then trying to use a registered return receipt, you have to get the registered return receipt first before you put that letter in the envelope. And at the very top, the very first thing you want them to see is registered return receipt number with the number on that registered return receipt. You want it right on that letter. That way the letter inside the envelope matches the return receipt on the envelope. Understand this stuff, people. And then you'll also notice that I put a little note in there about mail fraud. And that's because what they're doing is, in fact, and in law, mail fraud. Look up that code and find out what it says. And you can see by that alone, they are giving false and misrepresentation by placing a name on as the addressee. Okay? And what I want you people to understand, there's a very important thing about American English or English language, period. And that is the noun. Everybody sees and has learned throughout growing up in this public indoctrination system called public education that the noun is a person, place, or thing. I myself am upon the firm belief that this is an error. A noun, in my belief, and you can take it for what it is, what you want, but in my belief, a noun is the name of a person, place, or thing. Period. It is not the person. It is not the place. It is not the thing. It is the name of. It is the descriptor. So understand that. And that's why it's important to have grammatical, correct statements. Realize this. We've all been taught and indoctrinated into false words, terms, concepts, ideas, and everything. We have to get back down to that free will, and that free will should tell you, hey, something's wrong here. Period. So again, look through that letter, and you'll see it's composed very simply. It's a nice, short, sweet letter, and very strict and to the point. I'm the party with superior interest as holder in due course of the person known, or the estate known, and then the all caps name. And then the other name that they send it to, that's a derivative of. It's still a citizen. It is still a person. It is not yourself. Period. It is not you, which is a plural term. Thou is the singular. Thou is the singular. Thee, ye, singular. You is plural, meaning two or more. And when they speak of you, in regards to these cases, that is also, just like sovereign citizen, it is an oxymoron. You cannot both be yourself and a fictional person. Period. It goes back to the maxim of law. Similar is with similar. And you'll see at the bottom of the letter, I noted that maxim of law as well as the maxim, a man is worthy of his hire. And again, that's because they are interfering with commerce. Maxim of law, a man is worthy of his hire. And if they're going to threaten to take your license, restrict you from work, put you in jail, they are interfering with your right, your ultimate and unalienable right with unlimited powers of contracting. Understand this stuff, people. It's very simple. Now, I don't know if this letter is going to work for him, but we're certainly going to try, and we're going to keep in touch with everybody, let you know how it's going. But just like the letter explains, if they do not do as he's requesting, then they are clearly moving forward under the terms of fraud. And again, you'll see I noticed them with UCC 1-202. They are given notice and knowledge of everything that's in that letter, of that notice. And there are many more things that they can be charged with. Those are just a couple things that are both felonies. And there are a list of at least 40 different felonies they can be charged with, including RICO, piracy, treason. They're professing to be American people, and in their corporate capacity, waging a mixed war. Again, right back to maxim of law, similar is with similar. They cannot mix corporations with people, and that is called mixed war. And I'll describe this a little bit in a little bit deeper detail in another future video. But for now, we'll just stick with what we've got here and let you guys take this step by step. Unless you take it upon yourself and start doing the research and inform yourself, which I would certainly appreciate. This is something that you should be doing. I researched it myself. I searched out something that somebody else searched, found out the same information, and then I looked at it again, and that's called researched. So first I searched it myself, and then I looked at it again, and that's called research. And then I researched it again and researched it again. You wouldn't believe how much of this stuff I have researched and researched and researched and researched again and again and again. I've been doing this for several years in full involvement. However, you'll also see a post I made here not too long ago about a poem that I wrote back in 2008. Which was about, I think it's 18 years. 1990 is when I first discovered the thing about the fictional name. And at that time, I was still pretty deep in the cognitive dissonance myself, so I didn't do a whole lot of searching and researching. I was still busy worrying about how much money I was going to make so I could survive. Particularly one of the reasons I took off earlier this spring and headed out to the East Coast. Tired of the commercial society. I haven't touched any commerce for about 3 years now. I just made a comment in a post here not too long ago, just a few minutes before this video. I haven't had a bank account in 3 years. No credit cards, no nothing. I've only had one checking account my entire life, and I've never used a credit card. Period. It's the largest part of the entire fraud, along with that fictional name. That fictional name is developed simply for central bankers, Federal Reserves, the International Monetary Fund, the IRS, the corporate United States, the corporate state of state, the corporate county, the corporate municipality of the town where you live. That is all it is for, period. They say you're the beneficiary, then why aren't you benefiting from it? No valid contract has an off balance of detriment and benefit. All parties in all contracts are supposed to be benefiting equally. If it comes to detriment to any party, then all parties are supposed to share that detriment, and that contract should be ended. So think about this stuff, people, and look at that letter. If you're having child support problems, I recommend, this is not legal advice. I don't give legal advice. I give out true and valid information. And even if they want to accuse me of giving legal advice, fuck them. Fuck them. Try to charge me with practicing law without a license. I wrote a letter to Southern Poverty Law Center, one of the biggest implementers of this cognitive dissonance of people in the police force and communities, telling people that these laws are this and these laws are that without them researching it for themselves and knowing for themselves. There is no such thing as a license to practice law. And when you go to court and they try to accuse you of practicing law, stand there, bold-faced, face-to-face, and look that motherfucker right in the eye and tell him, okay, go ahead, feel free. Because the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subpoena the state licensing commissioner and put him on that stand to have him testify that there is no such thing. And I'll let you pick which state. No state has any requirement for a license to practice law. There is no such thing. It's all fraud. Start pulling your heart out of your ass. Stand up to this ignorant bullshit. But at the same time, I suggest you learn the words. The Miranda rights. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. It's a fucking lie. There is no such thing as a court of law except your court. Every one of their courts is a, quote, court of equity, which is not a court of equity. Equity means fair and impartial. If it's fair and impartial, they wouldn't be conducting all of this fraud on every case. Every case. If anybody out there can show me a true and valid case in equity, bring it forth. I will be glad to read it and shred it. Understand this, people. This goes to your children. They are causing harm and detriment upon yourself and any other future children you may have, as well as the children you have currently. And the first step is that birth certificate, the Social Security card, the marriage license. And just for you people that have a marriage license, understand you have a marriage with the state. And once you get a divorce, that license still keeps you married to the state. Both people that were married are still married to the state, despite the fact that they're divorced. If you want to get out of that marriage, don't do the divorce. Send in a rescission to the state upon the license that created the marriage. The fraud ab initio. A covenant between yourself and your companion. Again, I beg you people to understand these words. Your companion. Under a covenant with your Creator is all that is needed. And that is merely a simple agreement between you and your partner that you wish to go forward in life, helping each other to each other's benefit and not to the detriment of yourselves or anyone else, including your heirs and heiresses. By signing that marriage license, you are creating a detriment to everybody you involve yourself with. Period. So anyway, I hope you understand that. If you have any questions, feel free to private message me or post on the letter. Be glad to hear from you. Be glad to help you out any way I can. In the meantime, if it weren't for you people,